welcome to the Shelley Studio, and this is my mission inspiration video for March. I'm part of a Facebook group that Mike Deacon started to do projects once a month with a bunch of prompts that he gives us. And the first prompt is apply black or white gesso, but I went for the white gesso this time. So I do a couple of coats to cover this magazine that I'm using for my mission inspiration prompts, but I don't show you the whole thing because it takes a little while. Now the next one was to apply the opposite color in paint. So since I picked white gesso, I'm adding black paint. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, so I just threw some paint in the center and started brushing outwards, and I kind of liked the tunnel effect I was getting with doing that. Thought it was kind of cool. And you can see the texture of my Ripley magazine page and the brush strokes of the gesso, which is kind of interesting too. Alright, and the next prompt is to add scribble words that were illegible, and so I am just scribbling, not even words. I do notice I do a lot of S's when I do scribbly words. Like the beginning of every line is like an S. Well, since my last name is Shelley, that kind of probably expected, maybe. Now the next one is to add grocery receipt fragments, and I noticed some comments on a few of the other people's posts that their receipts didn't show up, and I'm like putting them on here thinking they look great, they're just fine. I thought maybe they'd smear because they're weird paper, but as I'm putting them on, they're great. But then I let it sit and dry overnight before doing the next step, and most of them, the words and the numbers, disappeared. There's a few that you can actually see in the end, but yeah, they just turned white. It was really strange. I'm just going around in a circle, keeping the white kind of towards the outside, trying to maintain that tunnel effect because I thought it was so cool. I say that and I go and put a receipt right in the middle. Well, not quite the middle. And yes, I'm applying that with my finger. The brush I used for my gel medium and Mod Podge is pretty bad condition, so I use my finger when I can. So see how those kind of went white? There's a little bit of lettering, but they're pretty white. The next step was to add patterned shapes. I only have two shape punches, a square and a round. So I went with the round and some striped pattern paper, and trying to keep it in the black and white theme that I've got going, although the white on those are a little off-white, but it was what I had. So, and I'm just making them sort of in a spirally looking order just to go with the tunnel effect. I was hoping it would kind of look like it was going around in a circle. I'm just smoothing it all out. When you do it with your finger, you end up with little bumps of Mod Podge everywhere. This time I'm using the brush because I'm adding a large focal image, and this was out of a travel brochure. Looks like some guards. They're not the ones at Buckingham Palace because they wear red, but they're similar. It didn't say, I looked, it didn't say where it was. It did say London, so they're somewhere there. I'm just giving that a nice good coating. And I have so many wrinkles. So the next one was make marks with a credit card or a card, and so I decided to go with blue, kind of match the blue of their clothing. And just do a bunch of marks along the outer edges. Randomly, well, somewhat randomly. And the next one was to add highlight color through a stencil. And I noticed the little fob hanging down from the one guy and decided to go with red, and I had this pattern of stencil that I thought would kind of match that pattern or that shape that is hanging from his uniform. Tassel, I think is what that is. So I just apply that in a few places around the page. Alright, and the next prompt is to add a quote. Well, I usually search for my quotes after I've got most of my page done, especially on ones where I'm doing this prompt, the mission inspiration. And so I just Googled guard marching quote, basically. And it came up with a quote that I really liked. It talked about guarding your heart. So I decided I needed to make a heart shape. So I cut this one out, and there's my quote. I'm looking at it, trying to decide where to put it, and then I decide the red is just wrong, so I'm just going to add a little red paint, and we're going to cover this heart. I do rub it off a little bit so you can see the pattern behind it just a little bit. And now, I don't know why I decided to do it with paint, but I decided to put some black acrylic paint around the edges of my quote. Did paint instead of ink. Ink would have been much cleaner looking. This is a bit gloppy looking, but I just wanted to be different. Whoops, got it on my heart. But it's acrylic paint, so baby wipe, we'll clean that off. And we're good to go. So now we're going to apply the heart and the quote. And I'm going to cover up the heart quite a bit with my quote. My quote, if you can see it, is, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." And that's Proverbs. I just keep smoothing it out there. The last prompt was to add metallic splatters. So I do go and I try to wet this a little bit, and I need to make myself a little splatter brush. So when I splatter it, it's so fine you can hardly see it. You do every once in a while see it. But it wasn't enough. So then I just dab little spots on there to make a little bit bigger globs, you'll You'll see me just put some dabs everywhere around. And then this time I do ink the edges just to give it a finished, kind of a finished edge. And that's it. My mission inspiration complete for the month. And thank you for watching.